In this episode, we're going to review integration management on Goaddon. We're signed in to the account of GrowCommerce, an account I created during episode 2. Integrations are made available through the GoFetch add-on and can be managed by navigating to GoFetch Integrations. From here, we can toggle our own subscriptions. Individual integrations have very different requirements. Some, like this, have none, but others require you to make certain choices and take certain actions. For instance, the module-based integrations maintained by Goaddon, which includes Magento, PrestaShop, and WooCommerce, require you to fill in a form with information about your brand. As you've seen in previous episodes, these module integrations require the merchant to download a file and install it through the admin section of their shop. But as you can see from the link in the bottom left corner of the screen, the name of the zip file is GrowCommerce, a name that is chosen from the input field that you can see labeled module name. Even the subdomain relayapi.growcommerce.app, from where the module is downloaded, belongs to GrowCommerce. This subdomain was chosen during episode 2, when I used a shortcut to fast-track the manual setup process. I can choose another subdomain through this interface, but you should be very careful before doing so. Shops will only trust the subdomain you've chosen at the time of installation, and while it can be changed in the shop through the shop API, this is not a trivial task. On top of that, other integrations maintained by Goaddon may rely on the same subdomain, so in general, you would do well by choosing the right subdomain from the beginning. The Shop API from GoFetch supports many different actions, the most common being the action of getting orders and products from a shop. Some integrations, this one included, also enables the creation of data as well as updating it. But if your integration scope is limited, it carries unnecessary risk to allow yourself more access than needed. Therefore, most e-commerce platforms enable you to restrict your own access. But it varies how you do it. For instance, for these module-based integrations, you select exactly which requests your module should accept. And once you've made your choice, the module files will be regenerated. Other integrations have different requirements. Shopify, for example, require you to register as a partner, upon which Shopify will generate API keys that you would then need to register here on your Goaddon account. Shopify also enables you to restrict your own access. Each permission you grant yourself will enable you to make certain requests. Shopify is taking advantage of the same subdomain that is used for the module-based integrations. Now that we can manage the scope of our integrations, our next focus should be our data collection. If we navigate to the Attributes menu entry, we can see the different data points that can be collected. Different e-commerce platforms can provide you with different data points, so even if you choose to collect all of them, you'll still only get a subset. Since data storage is expensive and liability is best minimized, you would do well by reviewing the available attributes and removing those you don't need. The information you do choose to collect will be accessible in your database with the attribute names that you see here. The full set is considered to include all information that could have general relevance, but you may find edge cases where a specific e-commerce platform offers a data point that is not mapped to one of these generalized attributes. In those scenarios, you may be able to create a custom mapping. To do this, let's choose Shopify's Customize option. From here, we can choose our preferred MongoDB database attribute name, and then from a list, choose the Shopify information that should be stored there. One of the factors that determines your monthly integration expenses is the frequency in which you choose to request shops for new data. Since different e-commerce platforms support different request patterns, they each have their own request schedule. In general, most integrations don't rely that much on you requesting data from the shop. Rather, the e-commerce platforms submit so-called webhooks whenever they have new data to share. But it's not considered safe to rely on webhooks only. so you should combine this with requesting data yourself on a recurring schedule. When you subscribe to an e-commerce platform, a default schedule will be applied, but you can adjust this for your own needs. In this case, product categories are being requested once a day. But in the case you're not really interested in product categories at all, you could remove this request entirely. Other request types may have a more complex request pattern. For instance, the default setup for Shopify is to make a daily request for products that was updated since the last request occurred. But in order to catch any products that for some reason was missed in that process, an additional request is scheduled to occur every 7th day after midnight. This request will ask for all products ever created. But since the response can be quite large, it's also more expensive and should therefore not be scheduled too often. But the existence of this request type, regardless of its frequency, is important because it ensures that at least the very first time a shop is requested for data, one of the requests will get all of the products. A similar approach exists for orders. Orders updated since last request are requested daily. An additional weekly request is scheduled after midnight for orders created the last 7 days. The presence alone of that request ensures that the first requests to a new shop gets all orders that has been updated or created in the days leading up to the integration. In this setup though, we wouldn't get 7 days worth of historical order data because we've capped it to 2. Aside from their initial usefulness, none of the requests are likely to collect much data that isn't already in the database. Shopify's webhook setup is very robust, hence the low frequency of these supporting requests. But not all of your counterparties can be trusted to serve you data reliably. For instance, the likes of WooCommerce, Magento, and PrestaShop should be approached as open source software that comes in as many flavors as there are shops running it. And these modifiable software installations may be utilized in ways that does not get picked up and relayed to you through a webhook. Because of this, the default setup of these integrations requests data with a higher frequency. In addition to these very granular controls, you can visit the synchronization menu entry and cap the number of shops that can be scheduled for data requests in parallel. This should also cap your expenditures to a certain level. If you need to pause all request schedules, you can do so here as well. Your expenditures are summarized on a daily basis, a summary that can be reviewed by navigating to Account Invoices. Since GrowCommerce is using the Sandbox database plan, no expenses are currently registered by Goaddon. But the expenses registered by GoFetch and other add-ons will be billed a few days after the end of the month.